Freedom is built, not found. It is not luck, not an accident, not something that suddenly appears one day when circumstances magically align. Freedom is a construction project, and every brick is a choice, a habit, a discipline, a system. Most people wait for freedom as if it will knock on their door, tap them on the shoulder, and invite them to step into a better life. But freedom never chases anyone. Freedom waits patiently for those who are willing to build it. It rewards the ones who create structure, who practice consistency, who design their days with purpose instead of drifting through them with hope alone. When you understand that freedom is built, you stop expecting life to change on its own. You begin to take responsibility for your time, your mind, your money, your energy. You stop blaming circumstances and start creating systems that work even when you don't feel like working. The world is full of people who want to be free. Free from financial pressure, free from stress, free from bad habits, free from the weight of regret. But wanting freedom without building systems is like wanting a harvest without planting seeds. The soil may be fertile, the sun may shine, the rain may fall, but nothing grows without deliberate action. Freedom demands structure, and structure demands intention. Every successful person you know has a system for their life, a system for how they start the morning, a system for how they work, a system for how they learn, save, grow, and plan. Systems are not restrictions. They are the keys that unlock the doors you've been trying to walk through. People misunderstand structure and imagine it as confinement, but it is the opposite. It frees you from chaos, frees you from indecision, frees you from repeating the same mistakes that keep you stuck. When you build a system around your goals, your progress becomes steady instead of emotional. You no longer rely on bursts of motivation that appear one day and vanish the next. Systems continue working even when your mood does not. They carry you through the days when you feel tired, distracted, or discouraged. They hold you up when willpower is weak. They remind you of who you want to become. Freedom is not created on the good days alone. It is created in the consistency of ordinary days. It grows quietly within the routines you repeat. Think about your health, your finances, your personal growth, your spiritual life, your relationships. Each one reflects the system, or lack of system, you've built around it. If your life feels chaotic in any area, it means you are relying on effort instead of structure. If your results are inconsistent, it means your system is inconsistent. Freedom becomes possible the moment you decide to create a predictable path to predictable results. And the beautiful thing about systems is that they multiply your efforts. A small system, repeated daily, can transform your entire life over time. You build freedom by deciding what matters, designing a process, and committing to it long enough for it to work. A system may feel slow at first, but it is steady, and steady compounding will always beat random effort. Every routine you practice, every habit you strengthen, every rule you follow is a step toward a life where you control your time, your direction, and your destiny. Freedom shows up not when you dream of it, but when you prepare for it. Freedom is built, not found. And the moment you begin building, your life begins changing. Here is a 600-word expansion on ROHN motivation fades, but systems sustain you, written in a smooth, Jim Rohn-inspired style. No headings included. Motivation is a wonderful spark. It can light you up, energize you, and give you a sense of possibility. But the problem is that a spark doesn't last. It burns bright, then fades away. And if you depend on it alone, you'll find yourself constantly stopping and starting. That's why so many people feel stuck. They wait for the perfect mood, the perfect moment, or the perfect feeling to begin. But the truth is, if your life depends on how you feel, your life will always be unstable. Feelings change. Conditions change. Seasons change. But a system, once built, keeps you moving no matter what the day brings. Think of motivation as the push that gets you out of bed. But a system is the routine that keeps you moving after you're awake. Motivation gets you excited to start a diet, but a system of meal planning keeps you eating right, even when you're tired. Motivation gets you fired up to start saving money, but a system of automatic transfers builds your wealth on autopilot. Motivation gets you inspired to read more books, but a system of daily reading time turns growth into a lifestyle. Motivation is emotional, systems are mechanical. And that's exactly why systems work. They remove decision-making from your daily life. When you rely on motivation, every day becomes a negotiation with yourself. Should I go to the gym today? Should I work on my goals today? Should I study, plan, or practice today? The mind will always find a reason to delay, to postpone, or to skip. But when you rely on a system, there are no negotiations. You don't ask yourself whether you should. You simply follow the plan you've already created. You see, people don't rise to the level of their goals, they fall to the level of their systems. Anyone can set a goal. Goals are easy. You write down, lose weight, make more money, or learn a skill, or start a business. But the goal alone does not transform a life. What transforms a life is the small, consistent actions that happen every single day. And consistency doesn't come from bursts of motivation. It comes from the systems you design. When you have a system, you don't depend on the weather, your mood, or your energy to move forward. You depend on structure. You depend on your habits. You depend on the rhythm you've created. That rhythm becomes your power. It becomes the quiet engine that keeps your life moving even on the days when you don't feel your best. Think of the most successful people you know. Not the luckiest, but the most consistent. They don't wake up motivated every day. Nobody does. But they have systems that make their success feel predictable. They have routines that act like rails, keeping their life on track. They have habits that protect their time, their money, their health, and their growth. They don't rely on inspiration. They rely on structure. And here's the beauty of it. Once a system becomes a habit, it becomes effortless. What was once hard becomes automatic. What was once draining becomes natural. And that's when your life begins to shift, because you no longer have to push yourself. You simply live the system, and the system produces the results. So the next time you feel unmotivated, don't be discouraged. Motivation was never meant to carry you. It was meant to start you. Build systems that sustain you, and your progress will no longer depend on how you feel. It will depend on the plan you've designed. And a good plan, once followed consistently, will always take you further than motivation ever could. Discipline is often misunderstood as a force that demands constant struggle, willpower, and pressure. People imagine discipline as a daily battle, something you must fight for every morning, every hour, every decision. But the truth is far simpler. Discipline becomes difficult only when it is isolated. When you rely on discipline alone, without structure, you burn yourself out. But when you build a system around discipline, it transforms into habit, something natural, automatic, almost effortless. A system is the container that holds your discipline, protects it, and turns it into a lifestyle instead of a temporary burst of effort. Think of it this way: brushing your teeth is discipline, but it no longer feels like discipline because it's part of a system. You don't need motivation to do it. You don't wake up and ask yourself whether you feel inspired to brush your teeth. You simply do it because the habit has been shaped by repetition and supported by routine. The same principle applies to every important area of life. When your health, finances, learning, and productivity all have systems attached to them, discipline fades into the background and habit takes over. The magic of a system is that it reduces the number of decisions you need to make. Decision-making is tiring. Every choice you face, what to eat, when to work, how to plan your day, drains mental energy. But a system removes the guesswork. It predetermines the steps, the structure, the flow. Instead of deciding what to do next, you already know. And when you already know, discipline becomes less about forcing yourself and more about following a path you've already built. For example, someone who exercises only when they feel like it must constantly use discipline to get started. But someone who has a system, a set time, a preset routine, a clear environment, doesn't rely on emotional energy. The system does the heavy lifting. Or consider finances. Saving money requires discipline, but having an automatic savings system transforms discipline into a frictionless habit. You don't think about saving. It simply happens because the system ensures it. Systems also remove resistance. Most people fail not because they lack discipline, but because they face too much resistance. If there's no plan for when to study, where to work, or how to execute a task, resistance grows. But when your environment and routine are optimized, resistance disappears. You eliminate obstacles before they show up. That's the real beauty of a system. It simplifies your life and amplifies your results. Over time, systems reshape your identity. At first, you may feel like you're forcing yourself, waking up early, reading consistently, eating clean, working toward goals. But as the system repeats, your identity evolves. You stop saying, "I'm trying to be disciplined," and start saying, "This is just who I am." Habit becomes part of your character, and once your identity aligns with your actions, success flows naturally. The greatest achievers in every field don't depend on daily bursts of motivation. They depend on systems that make discipline automatic. Writers have routines. Athletes have training cycles. Entrepreneurs have structured workflows. These systems protect their discipline and channel it into consistent, long-term progress. In the end, discipline opens the door, but systems keep you inside. Discipline starts the process, but habit completes it. The faster you build systems around the areas you want to improve, the faster discipline becomes effortless. And when discipline becomes habit, your life moves from struggle to structure, from chaos to clarity, from wishful thinking to predictable, powerful results. Systems don't just support discipline. They transform it into a lifestyle that leads you exactly where you want to go. Structure creates mental clarity because it frees the mind from carrying every task, every worry, and every decision all at once. When your life has no structure, your brain becomes a storage room filled with scattered boxes. Everything feels important, everything feels urgent, and everything demands your attention at the same time. But when you put structure in place, it's like labeling those boxes, organizing the shelves, and placing things exactly where they belong. Suddenly, the mind has room to breathe, to think, to create, and to grow. Most people underestimate how much mental energy they waste every single day simply deciding what to do next. Without structure, the day decides for you. Circumstances pull you. Emotions push you. Urgency distracts you. And before you know it, the day is over, and you wonder why you made no progress. Structure removes that burden. A routine tells your mind, "Don't worry, we already know what comes next." And with that simple shift, clarity appears. Clarity isn't just about knowing what to do, it's about knowing what not to do. When your schedule is structured, your priorities are protected. You don't have to fight for focus. The system gives you focus. You don't chase tasks. The tasks flow to you in an order that makes sense. Structure creates boundaries, and boundaries create peace. When you say, "This is my time for work. This is my time for growth. This is my time for rest," your mind begins to relax into a rhythm. It no longer panics about unfinished tasks because it trusts the structure you've created. Mental clarity is also the foundation of creativity. When your mind is cluttered with random responsibilities, there is no space left for imagination. Creativity requires calm. Insight requires silence. Breakthroughs require stillness. A structured life is not a rigid life. It is a clear life. It gives you the calm and space needed to innovate plan, and dream without drowning in the chaos of the urgent. Think about it, even nature operates through structure. The seasons have their patterns. The sun rises and sets on schedule. The oceans move in predictable tides. Structure is what creates harmony. And just like the world around us, your life also becomes more harmonious when it follows a thoughtful pattern. The more structure you build, the more clarity you gain. And the more clarity you gain, the more effective you become. Structure also reduces stress. Anxiety often comes from uncertainty. When you're unsure what needs to be done or when things will get done. A structured plan removes that uncertainty. It's not about controlling everything. It's about guiding your energy toward the right things at the right time. When you know your path, your mind stops wrestling with doubt. It stops replaying unfinished tasks. It stops worrying about the future because it feels secure in the present. And here's the beautiful thing. Once mental clarity shows up, confidence follows. You walk differently when you know what you're doing. You speak differently when your mind is organized. You work differently when your path is clear. Structure creates momentum, and momentum creates belief. Step by step, day by day, the simple act of organizing your life becomes the fuel for a bigger, better future. In the end, structure isn't about restriction. It's about liberation. It's about freeing your mind from chaos, freeing your time from randomness, and freeing your potential from the weight of disorganization. When your life has structure, your mind has clarity. And when your mind has clarity, your success becomes inevitable. Here's a 600-word expansion on without systems, life becomes chaotic. In a smooth gym, ROHN style tone, a sarin without any headings. Without systems, life slowly slips into chaos, not because people are weak or incapable, but because the mind is not designed to manage everything at once. The human mind can create great ideas, hold powerful dreams, and envision beautiful futures, but it cannot consistently organize all the details required to reach them. That is why systems exist. Systems catch what the mind forgets. Systems protect what the heart desires. Systems keep life moving in the right direction when emotions shift, energy drops, or circumstances change. Without systems, even the most gifted people end up overwhelmed, scattered, and unfocused. Think about your days. Every morning, you wake up with good intentions to work hard, to stay disciplined, to manage your time wisely. But good intentions have a short life. They fade with the first distraction, the first problem, the first shift in feelings. Where there is no system, every day becomes a negotiation with yourself. Should I do this now? Should I skip it? Should I try again later? These constant decisions drain your energy long before you make real progress. Without a system, your environment decides your actions instead of your priorities. Chaos doesn't arrive suddenly. It creeps in quietly. It shows up in a missed workout, then in a late bill, then in a forgotten goal. One day, you look around and realize that you are busy but not productive, active but not advancing, moving but not progressing. Life becomes a cycle of catching up instead of getting ahead. And in that state of chaos, stress grows, opportunities slip away, and confidence slowly fades. You begin to question your abilities when the real problem isn't you, it's the absence of systems. A financial system turns randomness into responsibility. Without it, money flows out faster than it flows in. A health system keeps your energy steady. Without it, you rely on motivation, which comes and goes like the wind. A learning system ensures growth. Without it, even smart people stay at the same level year after year. A productivity system organizes your days. Without it, time is wasted on low-value tasks while important work gets ignored. Every area of life that lacks a system becomes vulnerable to disorder. Systems are not complicated. They are simply consistent patterns designed to make success predictable. When you build systems, you remove unnecessary decisions. You don't think about whether you should save money. Your system saves it. You don't decide whether you should read. Your system reminds you. You don't wonder what to do first. Your system already laid it out. Systems convert discipline into habit and habit into progress. They make the hard things easier by making them automatic. The moment you rely only on memory, willpower, or mood, chaos begins. The moment you rely on systems, clarity begins. Systems give you freedom because they hold the structure of your life in place while you focus on growth. They handle the small tasks so you can handle the big ones. They keep your routine steady so your dreams stay alive. And they ensure that even on your worst days, you still take steps in the right direction. Without systems, life becomes a reaction. With systems, life becomes a plan. Without systems, you chase the urgent. With systems, you protect the important. Without systems, days feel heavy and disorganized. With systems, days feel purposeful and controlled. The people who achieve the most are not the people who have the most talent. They are the people who build the strongest systems. If you want to reduce stress, strengthen discipline, and create real freedom, don't wait for inspiration. Build systems that support the life you want. Because without systems, life becomes chaotic. But with them, life becomes extraordinary. Systems deliver what goals promise because goals by themselves are only destinations, visions of where you want to be. They inspire you, they excite you, they light a spark inside your imagination. But inspiration alone is not transportation. A goal without a system is like a map without a vehicle. You may know exactly where you want to go, but you have no consistent way to get there. That's why so many people set goals every year and never see them materialize. The desire is strong, but the process is weak. A system is the engine that moves you. It's the daily structure that quietly pushes your life forward, step by step, even when you don't feel motivated. When you build a system around your goals, you remove the unpredictability of emotion and replace it with the reliability of habit. Goals depend on how you feel, systems depend on what you do. And action repeated becomes momentum, and momentum creates results. Think of someone who wants to get healthy. The goal is clear: lose weight, get fit, feel energetic. But if there is no system, no meal routine, no workout schedule, no sleep discipline, the goal remains nothing more than a wish. However, the moment they create a simple system, such as exercising every morning at the same time or preparing meals in advance, the dream becomes a direction, and the direction becomes progress. The system carries them farther than motivation ever could. The same principle applies to finances. Anyone can say, "I want to save more money," but saying it does nothing. A system, like setting aside a fixed percentage of every income automatically, turns that desire into something tangible. Over time, the system works even while you sleep. The goal promised financial security, but the system made it real. Systems also protect you from inconsistency, which is the greatest enemy of achievement. You may be disciplined for a few days, maybe even a few weeks, but without a system, life will eventually pull you off track. Distractions, emotions, unexpected challenges, all of these can break your rhythm, unless your rhythm is protected by structure. A system doesn't care if you're tired or stressed or busy. It keeps the process alive. It becomes the guardrail that keeps you moving in the right direction. And here's the beauty: once a system is established, it reduces effort. What once felt difficult becomes normal. What felt overwhelming becomes manageable. Systems turn hard work into automatic work. And automatic work leads to predictable success. That's why successful people often look like they're lucky. They're not lucky. They're consistent. They built systems that deliver results long after the excitement of the goal faded. Goals give your life meaning, but systems give your life movement. Goals are the promise you make to yourself. Systems are the path that keeps that promise alive. When you focus only on the goal, you may feel pressured, unsure, or even discouraged. But when you focus on the system, progress becomes natural. You stop worrying about how far you have to go and simply follow the process that brings you closer every day. In the end, the people who succeed are not the ones with the biggest dreams, but the ones with the strongest systems. Because dreams set the direction, but systems make the journey possible. Your goals tell you what's important. Your systems prove it through action. And if you build the right systems, your goals won't just inspire you, they will come true.